Welcome to All Indefinitely. Interviews and insights to empower you to achieve personal and professional success through friendships, relationships, and marriage. Here are your hosts, Anwar and Cyana.
Welcome back. We are here with another show, and I have to say, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Yes, this is a very good topic.
You're in law school, and to be honest with you, this show, All Indefinitely, started from an idea that we had when I wrote the book Married Indefinitely, when I started to question the reasons why we get married and why do we need a license. And it stemmed from why do we need a license to then writing a book about how to be married. And then it grew with different things. And then you joined the team, and then it started with this show. But the purpose of it, the basic, where this all started was me questioning, why do we need a marriage license?
Right.
So now we're talking about it, and like you're here in this class right now, and you're taking a
property.
Is it property law?
My property law class.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so good because we're gonna get to talk to some of the professors, and as we grow the show, we're gonna get to really get in deep and have some great entertainment and informative shows for you. But this is one that's interesting. So I have always said, and like when I started questioning why do people get married, I'm thinking to myself, that's a license. Why do we need a license to get married?
Right.
I need a license to drive a car. I don't need a license to get married.
Yeah.
And I had known, and I've done my research, and I had seen that the purpose of it was to own property, but get approval to own property.
Yeah.
Like a license you can anyone doesn't need, you don't need a license to own property unless that property has to be approved.
Yeah.
Then you get licensed to own a property. That is what marriage is, essentially, how it started.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you think about that?
Awful. Like, I don't know that. Well, we got to give some context. I sent you the topic for this episode. It was almost like 1 a.m. because I was studying, and I saw that, and I was so outraged when I read that, because we always talk about it, and you always say, yeah, because women used to be the property of the husband, but it's like kind of like up in the air. But when you read it in the books and you actually see dates and you see how it started to change and when, it's like, oh my God, it was like my grandma was almost alive when that happened, and or probably even your mom, my dad, and it's like, what is this? Like, then you understand a lot of why, we're not just now trying to fight this concept of the license and everything, because it's been in their minds since they were little, and it's crazy for me. Like, I feel I'm a progressive person, and it's insane to think that was even happening.
And I think about it all the time, like how much we don't think about the origin of things. We just think about things at the moment.
Yeah.
And at the moment, if everybody is doing one thing, regardless of how it started, for example, we say on Valentine's Day, which passed recently, we all celebrate Valentine's Day. I don't, but people do. And everybody's expecting a Valentine's Day gift or whatever the case may be. Not one person knows why we even do it in the first place or how it even came about. It kind of just like we get wrapped into the whirlwind of this is what everyone's doing. So if everyone's doing it, we have to do it too. And no one asked the question why.
Well, what do we do Valentine's Day?
It depends on who you ask. But there was a Saint Valentine's who was, so I read it online, right? That he was marrying people at a time when it was not, marriage was banned because the Romans didn't want married people. Married husbands didn't want to leave and go to war and fight all these Roman wars all over the world. So the Caesar at the time had just outlawed marriage, but then this Saint Valentine's just kept marrying people in the church, but he would take them in the basement of the church to marry people. So in my mind, he's like taking his business to the black market, because he has to make money, and this is how it works. Like
That's right.
You have to make money. Like, you mean cut off my entire source of income because he's getting paid from doing this? I guess it's the narrative, and then I think that one of these Hallmark companies made a card about it and like kind of like educated people on it and started this whole tradition of it many years later. But the whole point was like this person married people in the name of love because he believed in love so much.
Right.
I don't agree. because, but I mean, and then you can read various aspects of that online. But the whole point is that as little research as I've done on it, I've done probably far more than a lot of other people that just do it and don't think about it. So, and it's that's minor. You know? Yeah. Valentine's Day is minor, although some people take it so seriously, you can cause a divorce if you don't do it right. But that's a minor decision. When it comes to something like marriage, this is very, very major on any level.
Yes.
So I mean, so what did you read? You sent to me at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And what is it that upsets you the most?
Well, this is what I sent to you at 1 o'clock. It was that according to the English marital property system, a married woman was to be supported and maintained for her entire life, but she was not by her husband, obviously, but she was not entitled by and large to exercise powers of ownership over her own property. Like her property relationship to her husband was one of dependency. At the instant of marriage, a woman moved under her husband's protection or cover, and she ceased to be a legal person for the duration of the marriage. Husband and wife were regarded as one, and that one was the husband, except for clothes and ornaments known as the wife's paraphernalia. All personal property owned by the wife at the time of the marriage or acquired thereafter, including her earnings, became the property of the husband. Mm-hmm. I read that and I had to send it to Anwar. I'm like, what is this?
And what year are you talking about?
No, this was
this common law.
This was this is English. So this was 1800s,
right.
Like 1830 something. 1839 it started to change. But then I read this, I didn't send to you because I was already almost like 2 a.m. But in the last 30 years, it's crazy. It wasn't until 1970 that it started to change. But before 1970, divorce in America could only be granted if one party was found to have committed some marital fault, such as extreme cruelty or adultery. Adultery. So you couldn't get a divorce for any other reason unless adultery or extreme cruelty, which I wonder what it was. Because extreme cruelty?
Well, that was always a question of the courts. Like, how extreme is extreme?
Right.
And you could beat your wife. That wasn't a problem. We always knew that. The rule of thumb was like you can beat your wife with a stick so long as the stick wasn't bigger than your thumb.
Oh my God.
That was fine. But if you're beating her with chains and bats, that could be bad.
Yeah, right.
So,
by the way, this is we took this information from the property book. I'm looking so that I can give you the entire. Yeah, it's Walter Schlauer, the 9th edition of our property law book. So yeah, it is crazy because 1970, like we were talking, my dad was 21 years old. Your mom was 15.
Right.
You know, my grandma was 40. Like for my grandma, there was no other. And we're talking about America. I was born in Cuba. My family, they're from Spain, from rural areas in Spain. So they probably thought differently. And even like, you know, it was worse than, you know, you can get a divorce for other reasons than just adultery or extreme cruelty. But it's crazy.
Well, you know, and the thing about that, like, and what you're saying is in 1970, state of California just started allowing no fault divorce, and not all the states allowed it at the time.
It started with California,
and it just shows how like the times had changed in some places and not changed in other places. But even though, like, I was born in 1980, that was 1970. I was born in 1980. I'll be 42 this year. And if you think about it, I mean, things don't change that fast.
No,
it just doesn't. It doesn't. You know, wake up and one day everybody's doing something else.
Yeah.
But the question that I have is like, have people don't know about this? I mean, I guess they do in some sense, but this idea of falling in love, being a fantasy marriage, and this started in the 1900s.
Yeah.
And it's so alluring. It's just so good to attach your feelings to someone, to say, I'm in love with them. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with them. And, you know, I guess there's other influential factors there.
Yeah.
Like your parents.
Right.
Your parents, have they knowing like this is the legal side of it.
Yeah.
But how does the legal side reflect our values, or do our values come from the legal side?
For what I've been reading, I think it's the opposite. I think our values reflect the legal side, you know,
Right.
kind of like that controls our values, because like I said, if until 1970 you couldn't get a divorce for any reason, you have to take divorce as something really bad, regardless of what you think. And then abuse and horrible things like that, you got to take it because it's not extreme cruelty. So you got to take it as, oh yeah, this is just part of marriage.
What were the options for women if they didn't want to get married?
Well, I was thinking about that, like,
Because you couldn't go to school and get an education. I mean, not until 1916 that were they able to vote.
yeah, well, and I was reading too, and I think we talked about this before. It was in 1960 where they approved the first oral contraceptive. So it wasn't until after that that women actually started to kind of like gain control of their lives, in the sense.
Give credit to a contraceptive.
Yeah, but it's true.
They changed the world.
It's true. Think about it. Before that, you cannot get a divorce, and also if you get pregnant, you have to have it. So how are you gonna, like? I'm almost 31. I'm going to law school now. Had I been pregnant before, I probably wouldn't be able to go to law school.
Right.
You know. So that's the thing. It's crazy, but it's sad to say, but our lives didn't change until 60 to 50 years ago. For women, especially.
Yeah, and I mean,
Somebody's having a rough morning.
I know someone's morning is rougher than ours. You know, and this is the reason why it bothers me so much is that I try to tell people with so much that what they're applying for when they get a license is not necessary. They don't need to worry about.
Exactly.
And I come across as negative as somebody that doesn't like marriage. When, let me tell you something, I'm the person that really does love marriage.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that is going to speak out negatively about it, like of aspects of marriage. I feel like the best things that you can do with your life is all about the whole, like, connecting with someone, making our truck is about to pass. I'm so sorry about that, but you know, making that connection with another person is actually it's
beautiful.
The best thing that you can do.
But that's what you call marriage, and I think you know there has to be a caveat here, because that's what you call marriage. You call marriage to the union. You don't call marriage to signing the license, because that we think it's unnecessary.
Do you think we're there yet? Do you think that the majority of people that's listening will agree with you?
Majority of people that's listening, this is what, our 10th episode? Probably yes.
Well, eventually people are going to listen to this. They're going to listen to this and they're going to say, you know, marriage is, you know, I understand what you're saying. Maybe this is a good practice run if you do married our way, or you just call yourself married, and that's a good practice run, but it's not real until it's married.
Exactly.
And even the people that I talk to that even agree with me,
yeah,
will still get the license.
Really?
They're signing up for this whole concept thing.
It's crazy, and that's what I would love to have my property professor here, which we're working on, because I would like to understand, like I was telling you yesterday, if you know, for preparing for death, like, oh, if I die, I want to make sure that my property goes towards my wife or whatever, or my husband. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's something that we can fix. So that would be the only thing that I can think of right now that's like, oh, okay, marriage license could help with that. Other than that, it's just burden in case you want to get a divorce. And then what I get is like, oh yeah, but now you're thinking about marriage and you're relating it to divorce. Well, yeah, statistics say that you should, because it's a high percentage of, you know, marriage couples getting a divorce. Well, obviously if they're getting a divorce because they're married, but it's a high percentage, you know, and it's crazy.
Well, so, if you even add in the people that are thinking they're married or living together, I mean, it's even higher numbers than what we think. We only call divorce the people that are licensed marriage and get a licensed divorce. There's many people that are licensed marriage that broke up a long time ago.
Yeah.
There's many people, more more that's been with several relationships prior to getting licensed marriage, and we don't count that as being divorced.
Yeah.
But that is divorce. They're doing everything a marriage couple does,
Yeah.
and then they get a divorce. So the numbers are completely skewed. There's nothing that you can believe about any of the numbers that are published about divorce rates. All that you can say is that it seems like the vast majority of people that get into a marriage situation, the vast majority is going to get a divorce. I mean, that's just a fact. That's just a matter of fact. It's not even a matter of opinion. And if you think about that, you say to yourself, now I listen to a lot of people and they say that you should work on things and you can stay together. I wonder what you should work on.
Right.
Like, are you working on something? And then they'll say this. A lot of people will say, well, this is how they justify it. They say you have to take care about the children. Many people that I know that are married are not even getting children. They don't even want children.
Right.
But let's assume that you do want children. Having a co-parent is not the same as just having someone that you're licensed to married.
Right.
There's many people that I know that, their parents were together, but their father or mother was never there. Mostly the fathers that I've seen. And how is that marriage helping the whole situation? To me, it's actually taken away from the whole situation. So, I mean, the whole system needs to be rethinked. We need to rethink everything when it comes to this marriage thing. First of all, I am glad that women are not property. I hopefully will have a daughter one day. Who knows? And I will never want her to live in a world where she thinks that she's property to somebody else. I mean, that's just makes no sense to me. At the same time, I'm don't want to abandon the idea of connection with others.
Yeah.
Of making that whole connection with others. So we have to be careful on how we talk about this, because marriage is good. It is the greatest thing that you can do with your life. The greatest joy of learning from yourself and learning from someone and having a great experience. I travel the world a lot, and I'm going to go on my next tour starting soon. And this is a post-COVID world, so we're in February now, March.
It's March.
Beginning of March, 2022.
22.
And now it's like been 2 years, and now I can actually start traveling again. And because of the whole COVID situation, I have my vaccines and my booster. I've done everything I can. So now I want to start traveling the world and finding out what do people think about marriage everywhere in the world and report back from it. So that'll be something to think about. And I do this because I want to find what works, and that we don't just abandon the whole concept in the beginning, because the concept is part of the human experience. It's like feeling, growing, and learning from others. But I don't know. I mean, is the goal? And this is a question that I have for a lot of people, because the answer varies.
Yeah.
Right. And I find that it's varying, but more. But if you don't have any children, but if you do have a child, a son or a daughter, would you ask yourself, would you find this as a successful life for them? Let's say, for example, they're 15 to 18, they find the one for them at 20 to 21, and they spend the rest of their life, and they live to 100 with that one person, and they never get anyone else. What do you think?
Honestly, based on my own experience, I don't think so. I think that you would be missing out, because just one person would limit your life, and especially being so young, there's a lot that you don't know. And what's worse, you don't know that you don't know. Yeah. So I think it's really limited.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't like that for my kids.
No, I would say to have, the only way you can know this is have different experiences, but the procedure is more important than the actual marriage. It's kind of like learning yourself, finding what's wrong, what you would love to know more about yourself, finding someone that fits that, and you mutually benefit from each other, and then knowing when not to hurt each other anymore and achieve a divorce, and then the process starts again. The process is more important than the actual marriage itself, my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I think about I will never love that for my children. I want them to have like a great experience and learn and grow. And I'm not sure what's gonna be the best beneficial thing, but I just know that locking them in. Could you imagine being our parents when your dad was 20 years old and my mom was 15?
Yeah.
And they knew for a fact that women were property, because in their mind, women were property. They couldn't get a divorce.
Yeah, they couldn't.
And your dad could beat your mom, and my dad could beat my mom, and that was acceptable in the 1970s.
Yeah, and
how crazy is that?
And what I was thinking, because I'm always looking for a way around. Oh, okay, what if I cheat? It's adultery. So can you just get away? Probably not. No. Like, it probably was not that easy. Because probably then my husband, who was entitled legally to beat me, could beat me as long as it was an extreme.
Yeah.
So why would I get a divorce now? You cheated. Now I can beat you.
The other thing is that, and this is something to think about, is that once you do get a divorce, no one else wants you.
Yeah.
In those times,
exactly.
In those times, women couldn't get the jobs that they have. They were working, of course. Yeah. This is post World War II, but it was supplemental income. It wasn't like the main provider.
Yeah.
And when most women get married at that time, they're usually like virgins at marriage, and they cannot, men wouldn't want a woman that's not a virgin.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
that time. They definitely wouldn't want a woman that has children or has been married with someone else. It's just not common. Not to say everybody is like that, but there are exceptions. But for the most part, somebody getting married to someone, like their parents would say to them, don't marry her. She's got kids. She's been married before. Yeah. Who wants that? So it's kind of like, what are the options for females?
There has to be this social construction behind a divorced woman, because if you think about it, she was either an adulterer, or she was extremely somebody was extremely aggressive towards her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she probably is affected psychologically. So what would you like that?
Well, I don't think that we have to go too far to find examples, because there's women like that right now today.
Yeah.
And I think that what happens is, what I see is they get into being a mother.
Yeah.
They get into their job of being a mother, and it kind of like becomes their whirlwind of their day to day, waking up in the morning, taking care of their children, and that becomes their happiness in a sense. So, I mean, I see it a lot today, and I really do think that if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, maybe I should get married, really ask yourself, are you saying, like, what is it the benefit? Like, what benefit are you getting from this? And if it's a will or a trust, write a will or a trust. If it's somebody that's saying that you can find another way, definitely don't do it to prove love. You don't need that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's kind of like what I find a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just this topic is so near and dear to me, because I mean, I have seen more people lose significant wealth and time and effort of their life towards this license that I've never seen towards anything else.
Yeah, that's the sad part. And something that probably is not in the statistics is how many broken marriages remain together just so that they don't get a divorce, and then they don't have to go through the process, you know?
For sure.
Because we've seen a lot of that too, like people who are completely done. We've had questions about that. They're done. Their marriage is over, but they don't want to go through the process because of how hard it is, you know, not only for, mentally, but also economically, and that's the question that we have today. It's actually not a question. So it's really interesting. This is Jonathan, and he's 31 years old. Mm-hmm. So Jonathan has a lot of a life, coming. So he says, "Hi, I have been struggling, and although I don't have a question, I would like to share my experience. I met who I thought was my soulmate 9 years ago. I was 22, she was 21. We got married 10 months after meeting her because when you know, you know. So after 9 years of marriage, we've decided to get a divorce. She filed for a divorce, and now she's asking for alimony, and she's asking for way more than what we just had agreed before she moved out of the house. This is getting really hard on me, not only because of the mental struggle that I'm going through, but also my savings are going just for attorneys. I just wanted to share my question with my situation with you and hear what you have to say about it.
Well, Jonathan, you are speaking to the choir here. I understand you completely. I get it. I understand it. And that's part of even whenever you go through something like a divorce, you take your circle right now. His circle was just him and his wife.
Yeah.
But if you take that away during a divorce, what happens is she goes to her whoever she confides in, and he goes to somewhere else. And that circle is going to tell you do something else. Like, oh, don't let him get away with just going away. The law states that you can have alimony, go for alimony.
Yeah.
And you have those voices whispering in your ear saying, hey, hurt him, punish him, do something wrong to him. You don't care about anything. Now your best friend becomes your worst enemy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, then she or he knows how to hurt you because they know everything. You know, they're, like you said, the closest person to you. And in this case, even though Jonathan didn't put it in his information, they don't have kids or property.
Well, you said something that I wanted to address real quickly, because at 9 months after meeting her, he gets married to her. And why? Because when you know. That answer is the worst possible answer you can give to somebody. Yeah. It's the absence of an answer. It's like saying, fuck it, let's just do it. No,
and life just taught you that you didn't know.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, that is not what you should answer. You should tell yourself, if I'm going to get married to someone, I'm going to ask myself, what is it with the license? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't get a license in all situations. Let's say, for example, you have to bring someone in this country, and right now the license is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to do. And you talk to them, you say, listen, let's write an agreement. We'll get married with a license. You'll get your papers. As soon as you do, we'll still stay together. We'll still stay married. We'll still call each other husband and wife, but we'll get the legal divorce.
There are fiancé visas.
Your fiancé visas means you need to come here and get married. That means that they can't use the law of the other country. Oh. So what they do is they give you a visa to come over here so they can use the law here.
Yeah, but you have a certain amount of time. So it's not
They only have 90 days.
Otherwise, the person goes back?
Go back, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have to get married.
You have to get married here. The whole thing was designed so that you can use the laws of America.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to use the laws of other countries.
Right. Okay.
It's just more complicated that way.
Yeah.
But it's just like, Jonathan, I understand your situation, and you're very frustrated, and you're feeling like, how did this person turn into my biggest enemy, and what's going on with my life? Understand you will get through this.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay. And I know it's a savings, and I know it's hard on the pockets. I get that. But at the end of the day, you'll make more money. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
You'll survive. Don't get too caught up in the using the attorneys or money or law to try and hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
Because that's only going to make the system win, and then you're going to lose. So I would say to you that try to find a common ground as best as you can. Try to get past this, get this to divorce as soon as you can, and understand that if you are enduring some pain, that in going through this process, just know on the other side it's nothing but happiness and joy, and more great experiences to come. And this has been a great learning experience for you. But what you should take from this is that when you know. But you don't get married. You don't get a license.
Exactly.
You don't get that.
You do something else.
Yeah.
You get married our way.
Get married our way. Yeah. I mean, I would love to email him back and let's see if we can get him on the show.
Yeah, I'll try to. Yeah.
Because
as soon as everything settles down, we should definitely invite Jonathan to the show, because it would be a great fresh experience.
Yeah, and I think that most people can relate to that. I mean, a lot of people, they're going through divorces like crazy now.
Yeah.
Just because
they signed the license.
And, well, people are thinking that a lot of people, I hear people think that we're having X amount of divorces and that's a bad thing. To me, if you wipe out the whole license in the beginning and nobody gets married, you have nothing but a good, productive society where women are not property.
Exactly.
Where men and women are equal and they'll just go out there and work and get their own money and get their own property and get their own things. And this whole notion of you getting married to be somebody's like which you talked about in the beginning of the show, where you were saying that a woman's right is to not have to work or just stay home with the children.
Just stay home, that
won't be in anyone's mind. And you have a more productive society, at least doubling the productivity of society, because women will come up and think, I can't sit at home. I need to go out and work and earn my own. And men are thinking, I can't look for someone to take care of me. I need to go out there and make it on my own too. And if I'm going to have children, I'm going to pick someone I can have children with and have a great co-parent with, which is more important.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. We wanted to thank our sponsor, American Worldwide Academy. It's a high school. If you need a career or a high school diploma, you can just call 305-456-5948.
Or you can go to the website. It's careerhighschool.com.
Thank you.
All right, take care. See you guys next time.
You've been listening to All Indefinitely. Help us spread the word by subscribing and sharing the show.